Awesome.
Leave meeting.
Yeah. All right, so we technically have the basis of our Yahtzee, but so some of you, again, I challenge you to see if you could create a way of looping the system, but really what we want to do is create that game class. Now we can run the game, not be in main shouldn't run it. Main shouldn't be in charge of the logic. Main's whole goal is to get the program started and then to run some sort of method. Just run methods. Really shouldn't be doing much. So if we look back at our plan of attack, which I didn't open, pull that up. That. Nope, that's not it. Plan of attack. There we are. So our cup hand class now seems to exist. So you can mark that green. We have this game class. Would we, now here's the question, I guess. Would it make sense to call it game or would it make sense to call it Yahtzee? What do we think?
Can we apply this class to other games?
So that's actually an interesting question. Could we apply this class to the games? Now, in that case, would then, how dynamic would this need to be? That's something we have to wonder about. I guess, yeah, if we could create it, if we accept like a turn system, but how much dynamic, how different are other games? Like, do all games do rounds with turns and players and always run the same way? Now, what I could say, and what I will say is that later on, we could end up creating something called a game interface, right? That we could swap out the implementation of it. But current moment, I think it's not going to be a dynamic game class. It's too complicated to do today. We might spend a couple hours on that. But yeah, we're definitely going to look into that kind of stuff later. Yeah, probably the Yahtzee class, because this is just our Yahtzee. We're trying to play Yahtzee, so let's make the Yahtzee object. New job class. Yahtzee. This is the fun one. Y-A-H-T-Z-E-E. Yahtzee.
Forget the trademark.
Yeah, we're gonna get sued as soon as we post this to the GitHub. Like, get that down of there.
Hasbro is very litigious.
Wait, they're gonna sue us, Hasbro, is it?
They would be, so we can do it with Yahtzee. With an S if you want. What do we think?
I would just say spell it like normally, just to like
Yeah, what's the big deal here?
not confuse them.
We're having fun. Well, actually, I was never gonna save it like that. Just some joking when people get the spelling right. But yeah. We're gonna create the normal Yahtzee class. We're not gonna get worried about that.
That is the spelling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Yeah, Yahtzee is the correct spelling of Yahtzee. Y-A-H-T-Z-E-E.
What is a Yahtzee?
Guy rides around his yacht. Oh, Yahtzee.
I don't know where I don't know if Hasbro's the original who actually created the game, or they just kind of made it normal, kind of like created it.
History of Yahtzee.
What's that, Colin?
I was just saying, Matt, what's the etymological history of Yahtzee?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, its original origins can be traced back to ancient Egypt, about 4 BC, and
There you go.
I have no idea.
I was confused with like, what is this, this game, the Chinese game? That's like also
Christian
kind of
with the board
crazy with
then.
like little,
Oh,
little
Christian
dice.
had it.
Really was by a guy on a big yacht.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Well, the question is whether or not Christian can be a jokester sometimes. So I'm actually not
No, I
sure.
looked it up too. That's what it says.
Oh wow.
I will say, though, I will amend what I said last time about Parker Brothers being acquired by Hasbro in '89. It was actually '91. I looked it up later.
Off by 2 years. Now, did Hasbro or did Parker Brothers take it? Who actually first owned Yahtzee?
Milton Bradley.
Milton Bradley had Yahtzee. All right, interesting.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia.
Now, that's the question. Did Hasbro did they steal it or did they pay the couple? I wonder.
Like it's been played forever.
It says a company has been acquired and simulated by Hasbro. We assimilate you. So Milton
Yeah.
Bradley is not really around anymore. Hasbro actually owns everything that they made.
They went Borg on their
Excellent.
ass.
Yeah.
I can see that. That's a
Although
lot
it
of
was originally
a lot of industries are doing that.
Some guy in Toledo, Ohio.
No more. No more rabbit hole, people. So let's keep going. So we at least do have the little fun fact that it was a game played on a boat by a rich couple. There we go. Fun. But we have our Yahtzee class. And so really what we're going to start with is just take everything from Maine and throw that in there for the moment.
It's actually a Scandinavian game.
Also, focus. Public void play. So we're just going to take everything out of Maine, just like we did with high-low, and throw that in there. So everything in here, everything, throw that in there.
Oh. Hmm.
And Maine, all we're going to do is we're going to instantiate a Yahtzee. So yeah, this one most likely will not be static. This one will most likely have parameters eventually. So, well, currently we can make it static. We're probably not going to be able to do that later once we add some of the parameters. So now let's go for it. We're going to do Yahtzee equals new Yahtzee dot play. That's really all our main should do moving forward. Sorry. Oh yeah, main. I said main. I thought it was a game. The main should really do just initialize the game and start it up. And the benefit of this is that if you do create other games in this project, you could actually end up creating a user interface here that could ask the players, hey, what game do you want to play? Pulling a little saw there. So it'd be a little scary sounding for a second there. What was that movie that actually asked, do you want to play a game other than Saw? It was like what's that?
War Games.
Yeah, it was it. War Games.
War Games.
I think I liked that movie as a kid. Never really understood until I got older. God movie? Or is that supposed to be a good movie? I don't know. Some people might argue that it's a God movie. So, all right, let's make sure this still works. That way, if anyone had problems copying it over, we can fix it. Let's make sure that this works. Oh, wow, I'm almost there already. Let's try to get a Yahtzee. I got a full house. I probably should keep it. Screw it. I want to go for broke. Nope, I got enough. I got sixes. So it still works. That's what we want to see. So here, let's at least convert this into non-repetitive code now. And so what here is, what in this area, what can I see as being repetitive? What items are considered repetitive? What line would you say?
After at line 15.
So line 15 is the one that repeats, right? And it repeats these four, right? These are the four that repeat, right?
No, because it doesn't do the mycup.parse selections input above it.
All right, because it just rolled. But yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, so this one does the initial roll and print out, but this repeats and this one's kind of similar, right? So we have kind of two things that are happening here, right? It's not really something you can break down into one repeating item. What is repeating is we have two different things repeating. We have the rolling selections that is repeated once, right? So where is it actually? This one. Roll selections. And then we also have a get selections, right? Where we display the cup and ask for it and then get the input, right? So it's possible we could actually pull these into maybe methods, right? Do a now void, we'll call it selections. So start with that. And again, this is stuff again. Some of you may already having an idea of maybe there is a return type for this, but for the moment, we're not going to do it. Now, here's an interesting question here for a method now. Is this a method we're ever going to use outside of Yahtzee? Or is this a method that's solely for Yahtzee?
Solely for Yahtzee.
So later on, we're actually going to talk about these more, is that methods themselves can also be private. So private, public, static, all those things. So this is probably a method that in a future project, we could even turn private to say, you know what, this is a method that is Yahtzees and Yahtzees alone. No one else can call it. The idea that we can kind of see here is like, think about in the engine. So you hit the turn on button or hit the on button or turn the key and you start the ignition. There we go, that worked. You trigger the ignition. And so what the engine does though, in order to go through the startup process, to go through the turn on process of starting the car, those are all probably private methods of the turn on or ignition method of the engine, right? So the ignition method in the engine, and each engine's ignition method is probably different, calling other private methods that only the engine can access. So igniting the first, like starting up and like igniting the gas or something like that, or turning on the electric motor or something like that, or running the diagnostic check. The order that those run and all those things, you can't trigger those things outside of it on your own. You can only trigger those things through the turn on method. So those are all methods that are private, and that's kind of the idea. We're not going to deal with that today, but just kind of a hint as to what's going on after we finish these projects. So we're going to be talking about those concepts. That methods can have classes can have methods that are theirs and theirs alone for them to activate and run in order to organize their activities. Just think about it. With a car itself, there's multiple on states, right? For the car too. So there's not just the turn it on, there's the other part of the cars, right? What's the other type of turning on a car that you can do?
The accessory mode?
Yeah, where you just kind of like, you still have the keys thing, you just turn the key backwards, right? Or turn it the opposite direction and it turns on the radio, turns on some of the electric pieces, lets you roll up and down the windows, but doesn't turn on the engine, right? Doesn't at least start the gas process on it. So same concept there is that these are methods that are private to the system. So we're gonna be getting into that stuff later. Good to know that those things exist. And the reason why I was connecting that, I was like, I forgot my reason why I was connecting that, but you would think that both the turn on accessory mode and ignition mode are gonna reuse some of the same actions, right? So some of the things, the accessory mode and some of the things, the ignition mode, the actual start the car system, they might trigger some same actions, right? In order to turn on the accessories or turn on the whole car. And that's where those private methods really benefit, is that those private methods can be reused by other public methods. So again, we'll get more into that as we move forward. Just be aware of that. Keep that in the back of your head that this might be one of those. This is a Yahtzee only method. So
when would it
go ahead.
When would it be a good idea to use protected versus private?
We're going to get into that when we start talking about packages. That's where protected really shines. So protected is all about package scope.
That's like the only one I haven't ever used. So I'm just like, why the hell would we ever need to use this?
Very, very quick item without getting too deep into the weeds. Public, anyone, anywhere can use it, as long as they're in the same project. So if you're in the same project, anyone can import and anyone can use that method, field, class, whatever, doesn't matter. Private, to itself, same file. So if this is private, none of these other classes anywhere can access it. Anything that's private, only internal, only that class can access it. No children can access the private items. No classes inside the same package can access it. It's completely and utterly inaccessible. Protected, on the other hand, allows for same package access. So if you have the child class inside of the same package, you might want to be able to be private, so that protected, so that way the child can access it because it's part of the same class, but the main method, for example, can't access it, those pieces. So that's where it is. The levels, mainly it's the level of scope, who can access it and where. And so that's where, again, we'll get into once we start getting into packages, we'll start playing with both private, protected, and public. So we'll start playing with those. And once we get to that point, what you guys are going to start having to switch over, and this is one of those little extra challenges that we do. Once we get into that after these projects, you're going to start almost every single field as a private field moving forward. And then you'll only convert it if you realize it needs to be public. Everything should start private. Otherwise, by starting with things public and turning things private later, you could end up with accidentally creating what are called vulnerabilities. So if you ever heard of that I'm sure the Darknet Diaries have talked about that, vulnerabilities of programs. For object-oriented programs, that can be bad access modifiers. So if someone can get access to the system and run certain lines of code into the system, like with ejections, they could run methods that they shouldn't have access to. So that's the concept there. But again, that's getting a little bit ahead. We won't get too deep into that, but just be aware that that's kind of what we're moving into. But that way, Richie, you have that now, since that can benefit you. Yeah, we're going to be practicing that when we get into the card games. So yeah, get selections. Ooh, go ahead.
Actually, get selection seems like it could be an interface thing too.
Could be. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not doing that today. Again, there's more that you could do with Yahtzee after the end. So I can definitely say 100%. Once we finish the card games, feel free to come back to Yahtzee and Liar's Dice and look at and realize, ooh, I could change a bunch of these things and add some abstract classes, some interfaces, some private systems and protected systems, do some packaging. And that's one of those cool things, again, moving forward, is that at any time you can even come back to these. So again, if Yahtzee ends up becoming your favorite program that you worked on, you're really happy with it, even after we finish the other ones, you can come back and even make it even nicer. And that can look really, really cool on a resume and on a GitHub system where you can show, yeah, I built it once as my version 1. Then after I learned more, I came back and made version 2 of my Yahtzee program. Didn't need to, just was a good practice. So definitely feel free. Yeah, there's gonna, especially for me with the cohort 11 that might know a couple of the future items we're gonna get into. Be aware that, yeah, you're gonna see things like, I could make this a little nicer. There's some things we're not doing yet. We haven't introduced those yet. So we're not gonna do them yet.
I got a Yahtzee, by the way.
You got a Yahtzee?
On my first try, like I was running to test it to make sure that it works. And
Good.
a full 6 stack
Nice.
there.
So dang. I might actually even put that in as a chance, but who knows? That's one of those things that's like, ooh, do you take the full 6s and put that in the 6 field to maybe get the bonus? Because that full 6 gives you 36. That's almost halfway. No, I'm not gonna get into that. That's a rabbit hole.
Sorry. Carry on.
Maybe talk about game theory. No, go away. All right, so get selections. We're getting the selections. This right here is involved in getting the selection, right? Now, do we want to add, now, do we want to consider the displaying as part of the get selections? Is displaying the status of the dice part of getting the selections, or is it just these 3 that's part of getting the selections? What do you think?
The displaying is for our benefit.
You have to.
I think.
You definitely have to for the end user, right? So you definitely could argue that. And that's one of the things that's definitely argumentative. You could definitely have a discussion with the team about it, because you could always just do this and then run the get selection method. So this is nothing that has to be in it. It depends on how much you want to clean out the play method. So
what's the benefit again? Like, I don't understand.
Really just makes the play method have less code in it. And
add more code to get selections.
Correct. We're trying to find that balance. And really just deciding how, and the only other argument someone could try to make is by putting it in get selections, we are removing 2 lines of displays. So we get the display cups here and the display cup here. But the thing is, it's a tricky one. Yeah, that's an argument.
We do want the user to be able to see what they rolled, though, before they make the choice of making selection.
We could have a system to do that, just not in the get selection method. It doesn't have to be in the get selection method for us to do that.
Right. So. But just to point out of every method needs just to do one thing. That's getting the selection, has nothing to do with displaying the cup.
True. So let's do a poll. What do we think? I'm going to do a poll on it. Let's see what the class thinks. I'm curious. This one, this is one of those items where there's no definitive item, right? There's no definite, like, I know this is the best scenario. This is more of just what's going to be clean, what's going to be easier to read, easier to follow, and going to help with the code. So
my take with this also would be to say that putting the display inside the get selection method is probably good right now because the code is so small and actually it will be working. But at some point we may have to say, well, we have to get rid of the display because we actually need it in other places, and it's like doesn't belong in that. It doesn't belong in the method anymore. It can be separated out of the code and displayed and ran somewhere else.
Now, for this one, I'm going to give you guys a hint. So for one thing to keep in mind, if you jump to a specific answer, yes or no, right away, try to defend. One thing that I like to do is if I feel like I'm being, like, if I jumped on a certain answer and I feel like maybe I'm getting a little biased on it, because I'm like, oh, that just sounds, I like that. I tend to try to be like, well, you know what, let me defend the other position for 2 seconds and see if I change my mind. And it's a really interesting way to kind of see some things that you may not have seen when you first had your instinct approach.
That's the Steelman approach.
So, yeah, it's worked for me in situations where, yeah, I've realized my instinct was actually not great. So why is that considered untitled? Because I didn't give it a question, maybe? Wait, what? Hold on. Untitled poll.
And when we're answering this question, we're just saying for now, like the final
Yeah.
result, it can end up somewhere else.
Yeah, we could always switch it later on. Yeah, it could end up moving later on. I'm just curious what everyone's thinking today, right now. So
I just want to be a contrarian, so.
I don't know that word.
A contrarian, just going against the grain for the sake of
Oh
it.
God,
Yep, just for the sake of it.
that might be harder in this one.
No, I know where everybody wants to go.
All right. Let's see, 11 out of 19 in, 12 out of 19 in. I cannot make a definitive selection yet. 15 in,
Sure you can just round it up.
16 in, 18 in. We'll hit when it hits a minute, I'm cutting it. So whoever the last person is, if they don't answer, they don't get it. But yeah, we have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is fascinating.
It's a tie.
Uh-huh.
What?
We got 50% of classes contrarian.
Wow.
What is going on?
I was gonna say, Keith, what do you do now? Go for C, option C?
Yeah,
Keith,
put
I
another
don't think you're
option,
very
we do nothing.
contrarian there.
Put another option in there. We don't create the get selections method at all.
I'm not, and I gotta figure out how to, yeah, I gotta figure out another kind of approach to this. How do I want to change this? Oof. This
Put it in a wheel and spin it.
Let's just flip a coin for now. Jesus. I was expecting maybe to get, I was hoping we get 1 or 2 on one of them. I was expecting just a slight lead from one of them, not a straight tie. That caught me off guard because I just remember as soon as I was counting down the seconds, I realized that the one who didn't answer is the second Travis. So
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah, so everyone here has answered and we're a straight tie. So even Christian answered too. So we even had some of the advanced students that are getting ready to probably have a good idea of what it should be, what might be
Oh, I
best.
didn't know there was a right answer.
I don't, again, this one, I don't really think there is, but they might have a better argument for maybe. But it's this is very much surprised me to get such a down the middle answer. Like I said, I expected one or the other to get at least 1 or 2 more, have it be a close call, but didn't expect down the middle. That was that was surprising. All right, head to Google. Yep.
If you had a vote, what would you pick?
That's not right. I'm not doing that.
Tiebreaker, come on.
So let's see. Heads is yes, tails is no. All right. We are, yeah, not bringing it in for the moment. So we're going to keep it out for the moment and see if we can do something else. Because right now, my current argument for why I would bring it in to start, now that it's already been decided, the reason why I would start it that way is because right now we have the duplicate. Right? That's the one thing I would kind of argue at the moment is that at the moment, why is this still here? I don't need that. Yeah, try that one. Oh, not yet, because I hadn't got rid of that yet. So yeah, did we do the roll cup? We did. Okay, good. And I did grab the display cup again. So I need to pull that out and do that.
The scanner in there?
Not yet. Hold on. Yeah, we gotta do some variable stuff too. So so yeah, we got the display cup. We have the which is like dice. Now that should probably go in the actual question. So we're gonna do. Oh no, that was not. That's one we were discussing too. So display cup. Well, no, this one should go in. Yeah, this one should go in.
Yeah,
That's part of getting selections. Yeah, that one I think should go in. Yeah, we'll turn to the display cup. All right, so right now the only thing that I'm not liking about it is we have the display cup there twice. But again, if we do a looping structure, that gets rid of that. So it's again not a definitive like yes or no. Should this go in or should it not? There are other ways to make this dry, right? Because then we are still repeating. We now have 2 things that are very much the same, right? These two, the 19 and 20 and 21, 22 are identical now, right? So it's not really going to save us because all we need to do here is just do a simple loop deciding on we do know in the normal Yahtzee system, how many times can I select dice to reroll?
3 times, right?
So we could always just hard code that in, or we can always make it dynamic, but we will hard code it at the moment. So let's do 4 equal int 0. We'll do a standard for loop this time. Less than 2 times. I'm gonna run it twice. So it goes once for 0, once for 1.
Can we hold here for a second? I got a little
Yeah.
behind.
No worries, I'm
I
gonna
know,
just
I was paying attention rather than typing.
comment that one out, and then that way you guys can like take this.
It's kind of like a balance.
Yeah, this is gonna your get selections is still gonna be yelling at you at the moment. But that's fine. We'll fix that as soon as you guys catch up with this part.
Input.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we bring in.
I'm trying to slow myself down a little bit. I'm trying a little technique on this thing.
Okay, so bring these
The
3 up.
concept of this system is that if I type too fast, it won't register keys, so I gotta slow myself down. So you might see some misspells.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that's my goal. I want to kind of slow down a little bit to help you guys be able to follow along and code along with me without me going too far ahead. So I'm trying to slow myself down a little bit.
Is that your keyboard clip that when you're typing too fast, it doesn't read the input?
No, I
Or-
grabbed a little tool. I gotta find the name for it. I just activated it. I don't want to pull it up at the moment. I'll take a look into it and get it to you if anyone else wants it. But I don't think any of you guys really want to slow yourself down. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm only doing that because of the video and for the class. So trust me,
How
I
are you
wouldn't
slowing
recommend
yourself
slowing
down?
down. What?
How are you slowing yourself down again?
I added a Microsoft not a app on the system that if I type too fast, it won't register a key. It won't
Oh.
read. So then I'll skip a key, and I don't. So you'll see me end up typing bad.
Dang.
Yeah.
The moment you're that good.
I like to know that I sometimes get a little ahead of you guys because I'll get into the zone and I'll type too fast. 'Cause I'm a touch typer. I've been coding for years, line typing. So it actually kind of hurts to slow down because then I have to think.
I was
It's
actually
actually-
I was talking to Matt the other day about that. It's like I want to get to the point where I like code and it's just like lines of code just like filling the screen like blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Like I don't see myself getting there anytime soon. But
Well,
that'll
I
be
did
cool
give
when it
Travis a
happens.
tool for that. And again, this is, I know I give you guys a lot of stuff, but again, it's up to you guys to decide what's gonna be best for you guys. So this is something that I recommend to some. So it's, and I think I recommended this to Travis, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I've been using it too. It's pretty fun.
This is a free
Oh.
page, free site. Yep, free site, completely free to use. It
Typing
does get a little annoying with the ads because it'd be a little slow sometimes. It might skip a little bit because of the ads on the free. Did you ever actually take a look, Travis, at what the paid is?
It's I think it's like $35 a year.
Yeah, and I think their monthly is like what, 6 or 8 or something like that then?
Yeah, it's like $8
Per month, if you do the per month. All right. That's not bad for typing. $35 for a full year to try to get good at typing. Not horrible.
I can have time to do that too.
I've been doing
Again, that's what
typing.com.
I'm just giving it for those who do have time. This is not a priority item at all. But yeah, I can definitely, if at any point you're like, you know what, I don't feel like coding, 10 minutes, type a little bit. This is something you can do 5 minutes. This could be your warm up, your finger stretching.
Yeah, that's
Do
kind
5
of what I've
minutes,
been
then go to code.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it as kind of like a warm up.
That's something you could do. Yeah, that's a workaround for this. That way it doesn't really bother your coding time. You can start with when you're ready to start coding, 5 minutes, practice your typing, get the fingers nice and warm, and then go code. So that's an idea. But yeah, the whole concept of it is, yeah, they have the lessons. So you could get started, for example, you can see what it looks like. Yeah. Take a placement test. If you think you're actually a decent coder but want to get faster, you can even try that. And just for the fun thing that I always like to show off, they actually do have the other 2 most popular layouts. So if you've never really gotten touch typing and you want to do the faster layouts, Dvorak and Colmac is actually even 2006. This is the most recent one. It even took Dvorak and made it a little bit nicer on the mapping, but Windows doesn't recognize Colmac, by the way. So do be aware of that. Mac has accepted Colmac. Windows has not. You need to download an app to make your Windows system actually, or an extension to make your Windows system recognize Colmac. Dvorak's recognized, but Colmac isn't. Yeah. Typing Jungle, just go through, they teach you the home row, they teach you how to do up and down, they have many little games, and they sometimes restrict you to only using one hand. So it can help. But again, only there for those who feel they want to try it and get a little faster on it. Because I can't deny that it might not help to provide a couple extra minutes during the interview if you're typing a little faster. I can't deny that. Yeah, if you're worried about kind of being someone that may be stuck on that edge and kind of like maximizing your time, like, you know, you're worried about never being that great at the code, if solving the problems fast, typing a little faster could buy you a couple extra minutes in the interview process, which could be the difference. So, something to consider. But again, I'm only providing that as a tool for those who want it. It is not mandatory. It's not part of the curriculum. You do not have to do it. Might be a nice
But you do have to do it if you want a job.
I will not say that. No, but I know I have seen developers that technically get really fast at what I like to call search and peck. So they do this. I've seen developers that can actually do that pretty fast. And it's impressive when I see that. I actually find that just as impressive if you can. If you can hunt and peck really fast with the two fingers. If you can do that pretty fast, I'm still kind of impressed by that. As long as you can get the job done in a time frame, that's fine. They don't care about how you type as long as you do it. We had one student who, because they're younger, so they've been using these for a while, but they never had a coding class. The way they put their hands on the keyboard was like this. Or like this, where their pinky was up near the backspace key naturally, and they typed like that. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like, yeah, this is how I just started typing to type faster. Like, he came up with his own hand position. Like, that doesn't look good for your arms.
You're hired.
Yeah.
You're an original. You're hired.
Anyone need one more time to copy the code?
I think I got it.
Awesome. All right, let's fix our get selections now. So we need something called input, but if we're doing input here, let's see. So we set it and we use it in the method. Do we need it anymore outside of in play? Do we using input in play anymore?
No.
So we can probably move that variable up, can't we? And
we move
most
scanner
likely,
up too?
just do this, right? Yep, there we go. I'm already doing it.
Awesome.
All right. There you go.
No, you can't do tab.
I had to do that once just for the fun of it.
You have to go that slow?
Kind of. I'm just trying to remember how to. I gotta find the right speed. I'm gonna start slower, maybe get a little faster as I go till I find the max that I can hit. So string input, we no longer need to initialize it here. We can just bring it into the get selection system. All right, next up, scanner. And again, we aren't using the scanner in play anymore, so we can probably bring that up as well. This one I'm gonna cut and paste. That one you guys can do too.
We can do the same.
Yeah. Last up is we need the cup. Now, is there a chance that we might need the cup in other methods, in other parts of the code of the system?
Yeah.
So where do we think my cup belongs to? Is my cup part of what? And this right now at the current moment. Cup belong in a method, or where does it belong?
That's a field.
Probably a field, right? That
Yeah.
way it's allowed, it exists in the game, right? Yahtzee has a cup, right?
Absolutely.
That's a valid statement. So we can switch it up here and do, I'm gonna do my cup. Probably still, yeah, we can still do my cup. Not. Cup. There, good. The cup. So now we're gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And now our code seems to be happy now, right? We're using the purple one now instead of the local one. So now we're using the global one. So we have a cup, we initialize it as soon as we create the game. And so we're able to roll when the game starts. We then set up the loop to go through and display it. We then ask for the selections. We then say, hey, what do you want? We then roll it. We then repeat. We then display the cup, and ask them for their decision. They have a decision, we roll it, and then we display one more time outside the loop. Let's see if this works. What am I going for here?
See,
What do you think? Any recommendations?
Hey, for fours.
Fours? All right, so I'm gonna do 2, 3, and 4. I got a full house. I
Full
should
house
stop. I didn't put anything in to not to do an empty selection. So do be aware that if I hit enter right now, it's gonna yell me. So we didn't handle empty strings. So do be aware of that. That's something we aren't currently handling. So do be aware of that at the moment. Yeah, make sure you're aware of that. Something we would need to handle later on. For the moment, I'm not going to worry about that at the moment because we're going to deal with after your liar's dice. We're also going to talk about what's called exception handling. So we will be handling that. Dang it, that was a pun that was unintentional. We will be handling exception handling later on. Unintentional puns, yay.
If I had to take a wild stab, how that happens is probably with while loops, right?
Kind of. Exceptions is so when you hit an exception, the method is the program is throwing it, and currently in the default behavior for exceptions is to crash the program. Except if you remember, JavaScript also had, I don't know how much you guys did with this now that I'm thinking about it.
The catch.
Try catch concept, yeah.
Yes.
So Java has those as well. Java can catch exceptions. So when we do the next line here, we can do a try catch system. So. Yep.
Sounds badass.
Oh yeah. What's really triggering actually is that the parsint is trying to parse the empty string. So it's parsint that's actually failing. It's trying to parse the empty string. So we could do a try catch. We can also just do a if empty string, create an array that's empty. So that's an option we can do as well, or an empty list. Just skip the for loop. Anyway, yeah. So we got that. I got that. It seems to be working. I probably actually should have done something just to make sure that it does the 2 items. So let me try that again. I just wanted to showcase that does break it. In case anyone had theirs break and when they were concerned that, hey, is this supposed to happen? So yes, it is. And then we'll do the exact same thing. That was great. I got 2 pair, but we do get all 3 to run. So this still works. Not bad, right? So far, so good. And
good.
just for the fun of it, to see if we can keep our play very small, if we had to give a name for this little loop here, what is happening on each of these loops?
That's a turn.
Yeah, this whole thing right here is a turn, really, right? This whole thing is one player's turn. So we could put that in there. That way, later on, if we do bring in other players, we'll have other turns, and that play just runs 1 turn right now. Let's do it. Okay. I, E, and we're going to call this turn, right? Yeah, or play turn. We're going to do.
I think turn is fine, right?
It's fine for me. Yeah, I'm okay with turn.
Turn.
Yeah, that worked. Okay, cool. And that needs to be, yeah, that's small. And then all we're gonna do here is just take everything out of play. Put it in turn, and play is just gonna do yeah. That's not hitting the button at all. What did I break? Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. Maybe this program, this system doesn't work. That's like it just locks us. Let me type a key and wouldn't appear. That's not good. All right. And so we're just going to run 1 turn. So now that we could even run multiple turns now if we wanted to. So which could be kind of fun to do. All right, get selections, turn, play. 1 more time. Make sure it works. See if everyone's on the same page.
All right.
See here, 2, 3, 5 again. My first and third and my first and fourth number are always trying to get me my Yahtzee.
House.
I'll go for a full house. Let's do that. 5. Nope, I didn't get it.
Oh, my hand's a palindrome.
Palindrome, really?
52125.
Oh, that would
Same
do it.
forms as backwards.
That would do it. That's fun. Doesn't give you any points though. Sorry. No bonus for that.
Well, in my scoring system, when I code it,
You could do it. Yeah.
That's a
You
full
could add a
house.
palindrome field.
Get extra points for that one.
Isn't that a
Couldn't
full
do that in
house?
the normal game because you can't really
It-
line up the dice. But
it would be
in-
without the 1. If there was 1 more 5 or 1 more 2, it would be.
Unless the 5 was in the middle. 5, 2, 1, 2, 5 would be a palindrome.
Yeah, Jim was asking if it was a full house.
Nope. Oh, okay. I was like that. What you were saying, I thought that's what you had. So, let's see. Where's my chat window? Why is that not open? And by the way, Richie, yeah, type racer is definitely true. I've used that as just a fun little exercise before. Anyway. Type racer doesn't teach you, but it's a great way to practice and to test yourself, especially against others.
The
Anyway,
other one was typing.
what's up, Sergio?
The other one was typing club, right?
Yep, typing club is the lesson place. Yep, that's where you learn. Type racer is a place to practice and challenge yourself against others. So,
Bookmark it.
anyone need a little more time? Good, all right. So now we have a very kind of organized system, right? So we took what was very kind of disorganized and gross and definitely not clean, definitely, as some of you put it yesterday, moist code. And I think it's safe to say that this is very dry code now. And it is also about a lot cleaner. We know what's happening now, right? And the moist is one of the words that's weird to say.
Especially when we're talking about code.
Yep. Moist code. I don't remember even who said the word yesterday, but that was the greatest way of describing it. It was great. I expected someone to say wet or not dry. Didn't expect moist. That was great. We have our much more organized and very, again, it's fairly easy to see, very easy to follow what's kind of happening here. We have the game, it creates a cup. We have the play method that then runs it. And really, if you wanted to keep it neat, I mean, you don't have to do this, but this is something you could do if you're worried about organization. You could move play to the top. So that way it's the first thing you see, kind of the starting method, kind of like main thing. You could have it at the top. So that way it's clean, a little organized. Is that required? No. That's more personal preference. Some people do know that in other languages, the main method or the primary method needs to be below, because in other methods, you can't call another method unless it's already been defined. So some languages do that, enforce that system. Java does not. It compiles it and sees the other methods. So that's not something we have to worry about in Java. Other languages, they do care about that. You can't call a method unless it's been defined and declared above it. So that's why a lot of times you'll see main at the bottom for some developers, because they worked on one of those languages before. So just be aware of that. And again, the main thing and why I tell you some of these things is because when you get to your company, they're going to have what's called a style guide of how you're supposed to organize your code. And whether or not you agree with the style guide doesn't matter. You have to follow it. One of the examples for that is both eMoney. I know eMoney, one of the companies we were partnered with for a while, but they're not hiring at the moment. So we're not sending them anybody, but we are still partnered with them. So if they need someone, we'll be sending them. But they're currently on a pause right now. They, for example, their style guide, no comments for published code. You can have comments in your local environment. You can use them while you're working on it. But as soon as you're ready to push it, remove all comments. So your code needs to be understandable solely based on the variable names and what you type. So, yep, you send a single bit of code, a single comment, and they will send it back to you like, hey, remove this, unless you give them a good reason. They will, and the main thing about that is that that reason needs to pass three validators and the team lead. So you have 3 people checking your code on GitHub, and then you have 1 more person to be the final okay. So your comment and your comment reason need to pass through 4 different people for that comment to be allowed when they don't like them.
We approved by the council.
Pretty much. You want your comment, the council has to approve. Good luck convincing all 4 of them.
Is that just because it looks messy?
Kind of, yeah. Just it adds more lines of code to the code, so it can get cluttered, and it's a great way to force the developers to keep their code clean and to use good variable names, descriptive variable names for their code. It's a great way to enforce that, because if you need a comment to describe it, then you could probably just turn that comment into a variable name, or means your variable names could be probably written a little more declarative, be a little more specific on your variable name. From our understanding, that's the main reason why they do it, is just to help force their developers to use good descriptive variable names.
The other ones are using the word bar. Some of them don't want to let you use that at all.
Which is why I don't do it in class.
Yeah, but yeah, that's another one, using bar or not.
Yep.
Another one I heard about.
Some companies don't mind it. In certain situations, it's okay, but a lot of them, they like declarative. They like declarative code. So very, very specific, very, very strict. So they like seeing the variables because it means you know exactly what you were doing, and you wrote your code with intention. So and understanding. So all right. So from here, let's look at our plan of attack quick. Let's go back to that, which did I get rid of that tab? What happened? Oh, no, it's just I had the Zoom meeting tab. All right, that's why. Don't need that anymore. There we are. So think about this. Let's change game to Yahtzee. See if I can actually type this out without yelling at me. Good. So setup, we don't really do setup yet because we set up our cup there, so that's not needed. We do have a run turn method now, so we could mark that off as green. We have a run game method now, so we can turn that on green. It's not working, but it does do that. And then these are the ones we don't have, right? So we don't have players, setup, get player, and tournament winner. But really, if we think about it, setup is really only needed if we have more players, right? Because really, we're currently setting up the only thing we need right now for a single round is a single cup. We don't need any other configuration. So we would really only need a setup method if we had players. Get players only needed if we have players. And the tournament winner is also only needed if we have players. In our turn system, we are rolling the dice. We did trigger roll the dice. We did select dice. We didn't make a turn class currently, but we do have a turn method. So maybe we change this from class to method now
I
instead.
was just gonna ask you that.
Good. Yep. Good catch. I actually was thinking about that. Like, oh, I didn't say that yet. Good. I'm glad you caught on. Yep.
Yeah.
End turn is just kind of automatic. We don't do any wrap up stuff. So maybe we may need that if we do scoring and stuff, because that's kind of how I guess we could say end turn is to pick the score, or even select score could do that. But currently not doing an end turn. Run turn, technically that's the whole thing. So that's what the turn method is. So I'm actually going to delete this one because that's the turn method. Turn method is run turn. So that's useless. Kill that.
Could end turn just be like a break condition?
Could be, yeah. That could be a way of doing that. If they enter an empty string because they don't want to do anything, we could end the turn early. Select score, that's something that a player might need, and the score again. So these are things we aren't really doing, and our end turn kind of automatically happening. So we will do a light green. So there you go. Yellow, that's not really good green. Yeah, well, it's fine. So I'm okay with keeping it here as a separate thing, but I'm also going to turn the capital T to a small t. So we know it's a method, and I'm actually going to add it to Yahtzee here just so that I know this is where it is. So dang it. There we go. And that way, yeah, this is over here now. So now we still got that there. This is done. So if we want to do any more with this, we do need players. And what we kind of thought of maybe doing yesterday, and this is going to be the challenge most likely for this. And I'm going to give you kind of the basic setup, but here's kind of what we're going to look at. What we're going to do is do a Yahtzee game where we're not really caring about the specialty score systems. All we're looking for is highest value on each roll. And so what we probably will end up doing is doing 5 turns. Let's see that, 5 turns. I really have to figure out the speed of this thing, otherwise it's going to be crazy. 5 turns, The total dice, right? Yeah, dice cup. We say cup. I'll even say cup for this, just for the fun of it, just to kind of connect that. Total of the cup, and then the highest score wins. Make sense? That's kind of what we're going to try to create here. That's what we're going to try to create for this thing. And this will give us, mainly for this, I'm just making sure we have that idea of player turns, an individual player, and keeping track of their score. Because this is going to be helpful for you guys for Liar's Dice. Normally, and I'm sure any of the people in cohort 10 can vouch for, we didn't do any of this when we did Yahtzee with them. But this is kind of here to kind of help with that idea of taking turns and managing an individual player. So let's start building a player class now that takes a cup, a name, and keeps track of their score. Sound good? Let's do that. So, new class. Player.
It's all right if I call my class Sergio.
Oh, well, all right.
Whoa.
I will say, if you do, you cannot use it on your resume anymore. Resume projects have to be professional, so do be aware of that.
Change it at the last minute.
There you go. Unfortunately, GitHub will keep track of that, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been putting stupid remarks in for.
Oh, no, you've been outed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we've had this discussion.
Good. Better now than later.
Mm.
All right. So, what does our player need? What does the player have? What does the player have? So, yeah, we can start with that question, because remember, all fields are has's, really.
Name.
Yep. Player has a name. Yep. So we can do.
It could be public. Wait, what are we doing? Oh.
Oh yeah, public. Whoops.
I mean, it defaults to public, but it's not
Yeah.
great to
Nope.
leave it default and
That's good.
lower.
Because I want you guys getting used to typing that stuff in. I want that
You
to be
know,
second nature for
I'd
you to
like
act
to-
doing.
Lowercase.
Lowercase.
Yeah.
By the way, the
I
default
want you to get
public-
used to it too.
Yep. Apparently, I need to. What was that? I heard someone else's voice. Joel.
The default public is a little bit different than the public. I forget what the difference is, but there's
Where?
a slight difference. The
Public
public
capital P
access
is a thing,
modifier,
right? Ah.
Um,
Public class. Something?
if you just let it default, the default public is it behaves a little
Oh yeah,
differently.
it's a little different. Yeah, it's not
A
perfect.
little.
Oh,
Yeah, and I actually don't
think
remember the
something about
difference. I do know what it
packages.
is, but
Packages.
Something about
Right.
packages, I
Makes
think.
sense. Probably does more with packaging again and stuff. It could have more to do with like children, I'm thinking maybe, where it's not accessible outside the class, outside the package, but the children can get it. Similar to protected, but not exactly the same as protected. So, we can definitely look at that. I'll definitely double check it before we get into the access modifier lesson to double check the specifics, but off the top of my head, I wasn't ready for the question. So yeah, I didn't remind myself the specifics. And
Interesting. I didn't even know you could not have. I didn't know you didn't have to have one.
technically no, but yeah, again, good practice and companies like it. If they see you using access modifiers, it just looks more professional code and looks more.
That's the name of
clear.
it. Access modifier.
Yes. Again, I haven't really said the term much because we aren't touching it yet. We aren't covering it yet. So, but yeah, you'll be hearing me say that term of art a lot more often once we get to learning about it. So, yeah, they're called
Right.
access modifiers. Yep, because they modify the access of the item.
Sorry.
Or they set the access of it. Oh, there it is. Nice, Joel. You just shared a link with everyone so you can look into the difference.
Yeah, there's a nice table that.
What else does the player have?
A cup.
Yeah, they have their own cup, right? At least we're gonna give them one. We have a nice, we can splurge a little bit and afford an individual cup for every single player with a nice felt in line.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it had felt in it.
Oh, totally. We could totally get it. In the virtual realm, it doesn't cost us anything.
That's nicer than my Firefly Special Edition. That one only has one.
Ah. Oh, that's what I was doing. So remember when I couldn't type anything? I was actually in the chat of Slack of the thing. So I have a whole bunch of N's in my chat.
Well, now you're deleting your code.
Yeah, awesome.
Why is it not clicking in the chat bar box now? God dang it.
I was like,
I
wait,
love this crutch. Everything just nice. It's a nice pace.
Nope. Okay, I'll give up. Chat's dead. God.
I was like,
I'm like, why can I not delete the P and N in my freaking chat bar? All right, you turn this thing off soon. All right, anyway, it's fine. Let's keep going. See how far we can go with this. Definitely interesting. Republic, and then the cup. We're gonna do, of course, nice and simple. Cup. And this time, when we call it my cup, we'll actually just call it cup. This cup is specific to the player, so that way we can do player.cup. Makes sense? We don't need to do player.mycup because that sounds weird. But just player.cup. What?
Well, it's cup.
Its cup. You could do player.its cup. You want to do its cup?
No, it cup will be fine.
That's one of the things that, again, could be interesting depending on the person you're working with. Its cup. But even then, you're still saying like Cliff's its cup. Cliff its cup. So it doesn't really fit, right? Still
Well,
kind of sounds a little weird.
I was trying
Player.its cup. Yeah, no, player its cup. Yeah, no.
I was trying to be unisex because I would say his cup, but
Yeah, there you go.
but you know, if a woman plays, it's not her. It's not
Their
his
cup.
it's her
There you
cup.
go. Their cup. That's the unisex. Their cup.
Their cup. All right.
Yep. Public
One
cup.
thing I added into mine, and I added player number, meaning you can have like player 1, player 2, you know what player it is, but I think that's a little too much for this. But
I don't think we need it. We don't need to know the order.
no,
The order is going to be held by the collection of players. Technically, if we do a collection of players,
yeah,
then
they
the
have
collection
their own
index will
number.
give us the order, right?
Yeah, but you have a
So-
player 0 though. So, but I guess if you just add
Yeah,
one
we
to it,
technically have a die 0.
Yeah.
We handle it.
that is
Don't forget that. We don't
Plus
care
one.
if there's a 0. What's that, Keith?
Plus one.
In that case, yes, it would be +1.
one.
What's the display? There we go. Now we figured out the +1. Perfect. So we have our name and we have our cup. Should we initialize any of these now? Why do I have a pointy cursor? Okay, there it goes. Jeez, my computer's acting up today. Should we initialize these any of these right away?
Do the cup.
Yeah, the cup doesn't mean anything special, right?
Oh, that's true.
You just do new cup right away. The name, yeah, we can't set the name. We need that. So if we need to set the name different for every single player, what do we need?
Constructor.
That sound correct, everyone? Constructor, right? We need to build a unique instance, and that unique instance is going to take a name. So the default constructor won't work. So the default constructor will not give us a name. We need a custom one. So lick player. This is going to take a string. What the thing actually does when I type too fast, it just answers different characters. That's interesting. I have to look into this thing a little more. All right, string name. I'm just going to do what's the command for this to work? Sanity check.
This dot player.
Yeah, we need this, right?
Yes. Why are we taking the cup in our constructor? Is it that because it's already created?
Yeah, it's already created, and we just need a default cup. There's nothing special about it for
Okay.
Yahtzee. A Yahtzee player is going to have a very standard cup. Now, yes, for some of you might be thinking about in the future, having a abstract player class that has a name and stuff like that, that's something you could always look into, and having Yahtzee player inherit from player, that's an option that we could do later on. But again, we'll get into that in the card class because you actually see that. We're going to have a concept called actors. So that's going to be really cool. This dot name equals name. Nice and good. All right. So we look over here. These are good. So here we just need to be able to
I
score.
guess I'm just not understanding why you need to create the cup right now. Again?
Because each player has a cup.
Yeah, we're giving each
Oh, we
player
don't
the
get
cup.
to use this. You don't get to use the same cup.
You could, but I figured it might be easier just to give each player its own cup, just to kind of, again, mostly because this is going to be beneficial to you guys in Liar's Dice, because in Liar's Dice, each player will have their own cup. So just be aware of that. I'm partially part of the way I'm doing this is to help you guys with Liar's Dice a little bit, give you guys a little bit of code that you can refer to. In Yahtzee, could we pass the cup around? Technically, yes. The only trick there, of course, is just having to deal with passing a cup around. In our digital world, it doesn't cost us anything to instantiate a bunch of cups with a bunch of dice. So technically costs us memory, but memory's cheap.
Yes, memory is expensive.
Since when? Maybe back in the 1980s, memory was expensive, but right now we're good.
We have more than 64K of RAM and can have variable names with more than 2 characters. This is much better than my C64.
I only got 4 gigabytes of RAM. I don't have a lot. So I don't have a lot there.
6 of RAMs are cheap these days.
Yeah. So we can afford to create a cup for each player. But yeah, 100% Keith, you're completely right that in the full Yahtzee, if you wanted to, you could do a single cup that is passed around to each player. That is something we could do. My goal here is to kind of give you guys a little bit of reusable code that you can kind of refer to during your Liar's Dice game. Because in Liar's Dice, every player does have their own cup. Because again, part of the game is that as you play the round, at the end of the round, one of the players is losing a die. And so you have to keep track of how many dice each player has after each round. So just that's the main idea here. So again, the overall idea of Liar's Dice is that you look at your dice, you make a claim about the total dice on the table. If you're called out as a liar and you did lie, you lose a die. If you didn't lie and they said you were a liar, they lose a die. And so the game goes on until you have 1 die left. So as long as you have 2 dice, you can keep playing. But as soon as you have 1 die left, you lose. Because you can't really, it's hard to play with 1 die. And I think that it's easier to tell what the other player has in that case. But
That's
anyway,
like playing Liar's Dice with dollar bills.
that's another way of playing it, yes. But this is the way to play without dealing with wallets yet. And because again, you guys will get into wallets when we go to blackjack and maybe even poker. But blackjack, definitely you'll be dealing with the wallet. Now we're just dealing with things like the cup and stuff. So keeping it fairly simple at the moment. Anyway, so player string name, this on name. There is one more thing that our player has. What is it?
This is one of the things I was having a problem with when I'm working on my code here. So the player has a new cup, right?
Uh-huh.
How do I access that cup?
Well, public. So just
But isn't it attached to the player though, or is it not attached to the player?
That's what you mean.
Like, how do I know if I make like 2 players? How do I get to that? How do I get to quote player 1 cup?
Anyone know the answer to that?
Player1.cup.
Yeah, just player1.cup, or if it's a collection of players, player.getIndex.cup.
Okay.
Yeah. If it was a private variable, then yes, we would have to have methods for that. But since it's a public item, we can just access it directly. Again, we'll get more into that kind of stuff when we get to the card games, because we would want cup private, and we would have other methods inside the system to trigger the roll and stuff like that.
Well, that'd be play, but it's going to be player. If I have 3, oh, I see. Player 1 will be the actual. Yes.
Name of the person, right?
No, it's a variable name that I'm creating when I instantiate the player.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you refer to the player by its variable name.
Yeah.
Or in the case of a let's say a collection of players, by its index.
Yeah. Right. All right.
You know, in the first place, we're going to create a single player. We're still going to play the game with 1 player. We just want to see, can we play the game with a single player? Good. Keep things simple in the beginning. Don't worry about multiple players. If I can't play the game with a single player, screw trying to do multiple players. I'm not putting that headache on myself, right? And that's kind of mentality you want to take on. Keep it simple in the beginning so that you can know that you can handle it. If I can't handle 1 player, I can't handle 2. So let me do 1 player first. Once I know I can handle 1 player, now I know it's fairly easy that I can add more than 1. Maybe I'll add 2 first, but then definitely go and be like, all right, I'm good. I can do a collection now. But we keep things on a single sense so we know we can handle it, kind of like we did before. Built a single die, rolled a single die. We build our cup class, we rolled the whole thing, then we picked a single die to roll, and then we picked multiple dice to roll. Same concept here. Do a single player so we understand how this system works. So that way, if we can't access, so yeah, honestly, if we couldn't access the cup in the single player, we then know we have to modify the class, modify the cup, change up our code. So that's kind of the idea there. If you don't know how to do it yet, as we get through, we realize, oh, yep, I have no idea how to get this cup. I now know, okay, we have to modify our code somehow. At least we can find that out before we try to handle multiple players, right? Cool. That's why we keep it very simple beginning. But yeah, player has one more property that we care about. You have one more thing. What else? What else do players have?
Score.
Yeah, how do they win, right? Yeah, score. So like I said, we're going to do the person with the highest score at the end of the 5 rounds. They win by just trying to get the highest rolled dice. So you're not really going for Yahtzee. You're just trying to go for high dice. So, and again, for that, 4 and 5s are good, but they're risky because you could try to go for 6, but you also could end up getting a 1 then. So still has some strategy in that game. Highest hand or highest cup. All right. Public.
Int.
Yep. Good. Yeah. Int. That works. I like that. Int. Score.
That's all I'm good for. Ints and booleans,
You're doing fine.
strings.
Oh God, you put a like an O, I think, at the end of score.
No, I wouldn't need.
Uh,
0.
No, but,
Snag.
yeah, but before, and then like in my head immediately popped up. Well, what do players eat? Scorios.
What?
I like that. Scorios. What do players eat? Scorios. That is awesome.
God damn it.
Maybe you're not.
I don't
a
know what's
player.
worse, the fact that you thought that, but the fact that you actually spoke it out loud. And Christian is now dying, and I think even Mike might be, or Matt. So everyone, I think some of you guys are dying. That's great. Other than that, all right, so we got a score. So anything else that the player itself needs to be able to do themselves? Anything that the player needs that the game doesn't do. So let's pull this over. Anything else we need from the player that the game doesn't do? I wish I could put the actions up. Plan of attack too.
So,
Hold on, Jim. Let's give people a couple seconds to think. So we have this. Let's take a look at some of the other actions in these two right here. And is there anything that we might need that the player could do?
well, I do, but I'll wait.
Yeah. That's it, Sergio. And really, just take a guess, honestly. So again, the main thing about a developer, again, is everyone here should have a theory. You want to have a hypothesis and be like, no, I have no reasoning to select this, but it needs to get a player. I'm going to say right now, don't pick that. But have a theory, have a guess. Nice, Sergio.
I'm sorry, I had to do it. Sorry. Keep going.
That is inappropriate now.
My guess would be roll.
You think roll, okay. Anyone else?
I think end turn.
You think an end turn, all right. Anyone else?
I would even go with turn as well because the player does have a turn, but because that encompasses roll. But I would go with either or of those.
All right. Any other guesses?
Shut up.
And how do players win? What do players care about? I think Elaine has it. It looks like an O face. Like an aha.
Don't they have to compare scores?
Compare, but again, does anything in our system actually get the score?
No.
Ah.
Yes.
So it's somewhere we definitely need to get the score. Because we said we have score right now, but are we anywhere in our player system actually affecting the score yet?
No.
No.
We know we can access the cup directly to roll. We know we can access the cup directly to roll. We're setting the name in player. the constructor, but we are doing nothing to modify or set the score, right? So we definitely need some way to affect the score in player. Now, where the logic to build a score go is something we need to discuss too. Where are the two places, and I'll give you this. There's two places we could argumentatively put it. Anyone know those two places? We could calculate score.
You could say that the player has a scorecard.
True, but again, we're not going to get that specific in this one. We're just going to count up the values on the dice.
End of turn.
So there's an end of turn method could do it, but again, I'm asking like, so mostly I'm trying to figure out there's two places. So yeah, end of turn, but that's a method, and that's a method. So yeah, okay, that works. But
Well, I was
thinking
When they take their turn.
I was thinking at the end of the turn method.
So you're thinking that it could belong in the Yahtzee class.
Yeah.
So Yahtzee class could do the calculation of getting the total score for that roll, for that round. Okay. Anyone else think of it? So in order to get the score, what do you need access to?
Dice.
So who has the most direct access to the dice?
The cup.
The cup guy.
Yeah, Keith had it right down there. Yep. Keith got it right away. Yep. Oh, you need access to the dice. Yeah, and Cup has the most direct access to the dice, right? And so couldn't the Cup class just tell us what its total value is?
Yeah.
Right? And so we could just ask the Cup, hey, what's your current value? And then add that to our score. So that's one place. But yeah, you could also argue, well, the player has access to the Cup, which has the dice, so maybe the player could do it. So this is where that argument is there. Does the player get the score or does the Cup give the score? Where do we want to put it? Now the player can ask the Cup for the score, or again, the player could do the tabulation themselves. And this is semantics, where in the real world, who's getting the score?
The player is.
Player.
Yeah, the player's counting the numbers.
Yeah.
In the digital world, can a Cup count the score?
Yes.
Yes. So this is where, again, this is where it can definitely be a discussion between the team. And so we're actually going to have some more fun here. I want to do one more poll and see if we get another 50-50 here. I thought I learned my lesson, but I have not yet. Let's go again. Oh, this is gonna be fun to actually type out now. I wonder if I should turn off my system just so I can type this fast because you guys aren't typing along. But let's have fun. Let's see if I can do it. Type it. Score. We'll do that for the question. We might call it calculate score in the actual program. Oop, nope, don't do that.
Jeez, you type slow.
Hey, I will turn this thing off.
No, I'm only kidding.
Call me out.
I think it should be in its own class.
Just felt good to say it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it then. At my expense. There you go. Player and Cup. I'm not giving the option for a new class because that's going to give the evil people to go after that one. Trying to give Keith an easy answer.
Well, it would be a new class if we actually expanded on the scoring system.
This one's very interesting, actually. All right. That was fast, actually. So there's already a dead winner, but screw it. I want. Well, actually, no. There's some people might have done a BRB. I think I saw someone say it. But go again. Go more. Oh, there's 18. That's all of them because Travis is extra computer. Cool. All right. Let's share the results. Freaking landslide on that one. So, and again, this one's very interesting. Yeah. So in this case, we're going to go with the object-oriented concept of trying to mimic the real world. But again, it's very much, you could very much argue that, yeah, Cup has direct access to dice. You could do Cup. And in this case, this is one of those ones where I really don't feel like there's a better option here, personally. So I don't really see anywhere here that you're going to get a better result going through player or through Cup. For here, it's just really where does it feel like it belongs more. And so I feel like a lot of people went with the idea like, oh, the real world makes sense. The player is the one that counting the dice. So I can follow it. I'm good with it.
My only argument for this, for putting it into the Cup, is the fact that you can actually do a score and tally it up without a player. you'd actually need a player to actually get the score. But I can understand why you would put the score on the player as well.
Mhm.
But if you put it in the cup, you can actually run it without a player and still get a score.
True. Then if you bring the cup into a game that doesn't necessarily have a player, I guess you could do it. But again, and that's what's really interesting about object-oriented programming. You can discuss this for a while, but at some point you just do need to just take the tally and just go with the one. But
Exactly.
yep.
That's like
Yeah,
the
but
old
unfortunately,
saying about
you're.
a tree falling in the forest.
Was that Mike?
That's like the old saying about a tree falling in the forest. Like if a
Yeah.
Yahtzee game had some dice, but there were no players.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Does it have a score? It's kind of what I mentioned. Like, yeah, the dice fall by having the face-up value concept of the die. If I roll a die and it rolls under the chair, if I don't look at it, we don't know what it is. So you need to observe it. That's why we said the roll method doesn't return the value. Because yeah, if we don't look at it, we don't observe the value. Yeah, a roll doesn't necessarily mean it has a value. So good.
It does have a value though, because it's face up.
Again, that's what's cool about this. You can definitely go back and forth for a while of the pros and cons of whether it belongs in player or cup. And this is where, in the end, this is where, for me, I don't feel there is one that's the definitive answer here. It depends on how you want to go. Because we said, yeah, real world player counts, but in the digital world, a cup can definitely count, and it could be useful in other games to have the cup be able to give the total. So you could argue it, but at the same time, again, it just makes sense to follow things. So you could spend a good hour discussing this, but at some point, really, you just got to take the vote and go with what the vote goes. So
yeah,
we
the only
go.
other thing I'll point out is putting it in the cup also you can allow it to debug or bugging, so you can eliminate like a class out of it just to see if it just works. So it's just a few minor things.
Do that for the moment. Again, we don't know if we're going to return anything we calculate. Yeah, we might think, oh, int, but for the moment, we can keep it as void for the moment. Till we realize whether it should be or not. Hey, Christian, hopefully you're there because I'm about to send you guys to a room. All right. Where is breakout rooms? Where are those things? There you go.
Go over why we're making this a void, just so I can hammer. I can
Oh,
get.
so like I said, I tend to start with void until I know for sure what I am returning. Now,
Okay.
yeah, I might have an instinct like, oh, I might return int where I could put that in. But for me, I tend to appreciate using void because that way I don't have to return something until I know what I am returning. Once I type my first return statement, that'll tell me what void should be. For me, and this is just a practice that I've suddenly developed over time, I let my return statement tell me what my return method is going to, or my return type is going to be. I don't assume to know what my return type is going to be for any method. It's just a practice I followed, and it so far worked for me. So it's so far been working well for me. If it works really well for you guys, go for it. If it works better for you guys to put the return type right away so you remember to return it, go for it. We'll do what's going to help you code better. So if figuring out the return type right away benefits you more, do that. Cool. All right.
Gotcha.
Yep. Calculate score. Scoreo. Now I want to type Scoreo now. Thanks for that, Sergio.
That's what he's here for.
Sergio's laughing. Yes. All right. So calculate score. So now here's another question: should calculate score update our score, or should it just get the number and we have another method that actually edits the score? Or are we getting into the weeds now and making too many methods? We could, instead of calling it calculate, we could just call it update score, right? And that way we can do the.
If it's just calculate score, you can have like a setter for it and then a check to see if the score that's coming in is greater than the current score.
Oh, we're just going to keep for every round. You're just going to add the score for this round to your existing score. So you're not trying to get the overall best hand. You're just best hand throughout it. So that way, if someone gets all sixes, they don't instantly win. Then again, I guess that could be a way of an argument for it should be instant win. But again, I want to allow us to go through those 4 rows. But yeah, that's something you could do that though. I will say that could be something you could do. I didn't even think of that as the game. My thought process was total score or all 5 rows is the winner, but you could do best score across 5 rows. So that way you're just updating the score if the new score is greater than the original score. That's an interesting way of approaching it. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, since we were only doing one turn with one player, I was just like, every roll counts as a score, and then we're comparing it against
keep your
each
best.
roll. Yeah.
Interesting idea. So actually, that's good. Just again, general. I'll just ask the group in general. We're gonna ask the poll for this one. What do we want our score-based Yahtzee game to do? Best score across 5 rolls or best total score over 5 turns?
Oh,
What do you think?
I'd say total score if we're
Best
comparing it to
total
the
score.
score of other people.
That makes sense since we're going against
agree.
others. The end goal is to go against others. We definitely want to bring in another player. So the end goal is to go against other players. So we probably want total across all 5 rows. Because otherwise, if 2 players somehow get all 6s, then they're tied. And then there's no winner. Now, that would be impressive, but it is a mathematical possibility. Right? It is technically possible that 2 players could get all 6s. And then they just win. But maybe they both should win. Who knows? So yeah, we'll do the totaling across 5 rows, and that because that's the one I was explaining to do anyway. So we'll do that. So first, we need to get the score for the score for the round. And so, when are we assuming? And so let's take a moment, step back, and ask yourself, when do we assume this method will run?
after you played.
After
At the end of the turn, right? So we can confidently take the result and add it to the score field, right?
Mhm.
So, and again, you could make another method if you want, but for the moment, I'm going to say let's keep ourselves going method crazy, and our calculate score will change it to update score, and this will get the total of the cup and add it to your score. So it'll update your score with the current status of the cup. That came out weird. So update score. All right, so now we need to get the total of all the dice. Anyone have any recommendation how I should do that?
Could you call that also get score or get total?
No, because
score?
that would canonically mean I'm going to return the score as an int to whoever called the method.
Oh, all right.
Remember, get score will be a getter technically.
So we're storing in the cup, we're storing the dice in an array list. And
Yep.
each die has a face-up value.
Mhm.
So we could iterate through the array list and pull each individual face-up value of the dice of each die separately and add them together into an integer variable.
So you gave me the reason. Now someone else give me kind of a more code-like item. So what items are we using in code for that? So he gave you guys what we're doing, but how do we do it?
Wouldn't we loop through parse selections?
Not selections. That would be for
Method?
yeah. That would be for getting which dice we want to reroll.
All right, can you go up? I wasn't here for
No worries.
yeah, so I'm just looking to that's the only code
So
I
yeah,
saw.
if we're gonna loop through though, if we're gonna loop through, what looping structure should we use? I guess the first question.
4 in.
Can we use a 4 in, everybody? Other than Jim?
We're looping through the list of dice, right? To add
Hold
them.
on, Jim. I won't, like I said, you're a killer at 11, so I know that you know why we can probably use that, but I want to make sure everyone else understands why we can use a 4 in. Any ideas? Why are we able to use a 4 in? Why can we use that? Remember what the benefit of a 4 in does.
You don't need to know the exact index. It does that
Okay.
automatically.
That's one, yep. And then the other benefit of the 4 in does what? It guarantees we will do what?
It'll at least go through one time.
Every single item, right?
Yeah, every single item.
Yeah, it's going to guarantee that we will touch every element in that list. That's what the 4 in does. You cannot skip elements. Because they're, and I will say you cannot, but you have to do it. If you want to skip an element, you have to do it manually. You have to
Would be able
manually
to-
skip an element.
Would be able to be also used for each loop. That's what I was thinking.
True, but the for each is a method. And that way, in that one, you can't break out of loop early. You can't just end early.
I
So
got
they
you.
for in, by the way. So one thing to keep in mind, yes, there's a for each method, by the way. That runs a lambda, that actually runs a method itself. They call them lambdas. I don't want to get into that. It's a rabbit hole right now. But the for each is very similar to like the map method or the for each method in JavaScript, where it's a method. There's no way to stop that looping structure from running all the way to the end, period. A for in guarantees it will touch each element at least once, but at the same time, it still gives you the ability that if you want to stop iterating through that list at any time, you can. So you can break out of the loop still. In a for each, you cannot break. Break does not work. It is not considered a looping. It's not considered a loop. It is considered a method. So be aware of that. So too fast. For. And so what's the data type of our item inside of our list?
Int.
Oh,
We'll
wait.
check the cup class.
Is it new?
We'll check our cup class. We're iterating through our cup, the dice in the cup. What is each individual item in the list? Someone said it, but I was kind of talking. So I'm curious. Jim, stop giving it to them. I know you know. Let the newbies learn.
Yeah, Jim, why don't you go get a job?
Oof! Ouch!
That's pretty harsh.
Because I enjoy career.
That's
death.
not
I
harsh.
wanna be here.
That's a good answer.
I
That's a
think
good
he's
answer.
smart enough to go get a job.
Technically, I kind of am.
Yeah. Oh no, I will agree. He's definitely smart enough. I got to speed him up. That's it.
Yes, I got to get quicker at this.
He's gonna get quicker. I think that if he has to get quicker, what the hell do I need to get?
Typing, and solving the problems. Jim has a tendency to go down rabbit holes.
Yes, exactly.
He likes them. He finds them very fascinating because Jim is a very curious person, and I do like it about him. But during a interview test, that's going to hurt him horribly.
Yes, it does.
So
And I hate
curiosity. They say it kills the cat, but in this case, it just distracts the cat, and they fail the test. So
Yeah, I hate that. I got to figure that out. I got to work on that.
That's why I'm trying to call him out whenever he tries to go down a rabbit hole. Which again, I like his curiosity, I like his knowledge, but I got to make sure I keep cutting him off and say stop. So they are die, yes. So we got die. Nope, die. Yep. And then we can say again, die. Nope, not that one. That one. And so now we get to access the dice in the cup class in our player. So how do we access that? You access the list. I can't do dice here because player doesn't have dice, right?
Yeah.
Technically, the player doesn't have the dice, but the player has some that does. So if I try to type, there it is, right? If we do cup.dice, now we can iterate through the list. So this is that difference between inheritance, where I can access the dice directly, and composition, where I access the dice through the item, through the class it has. So, and this is because our dice list is public, we can do this. If we didn't have public dice, we would have to access it a different way. And this is where, for some of you who did put dice as your answer, that would definitely be where the answer would be yes, and that if our dice list was private, we would have to go through the cup in that case, because then the player wouldn't have access to the dice individually. So be aware of that. Again, that's something we'll touch base more on later on. And all you want to do here is just either know where am I putting each value. So I can definitely do die dot value face up value. So get the value, but I need to put it somewhere, right?
Oh,
because it's yelling at me because it's telling me not a statement. I'm not doing anything with this. I just grabbed a value, but I'm grabbing it and just tossing it away, right?
Should there be parentheses on that for face up? No,
Isn't
no.
it just it's
No, right.
no, it's a die.
Yeah.
And die
No, that's
has
right.
face
It-
value as a
it-
public field.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem right, but I know it's right.
So what do I do with it?
Put it in score.
Yeah, I am actually. So this is one of those things that's interesting. Like normally on these, you might do what's called a running total loop. So you would have a sum or a total variable, but in this case, I guess we don't really need it. We can just go ahead and just add each die directly to the score.
Plus,
Don't we? Can't we?
yeah.
Yeah, we just do. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Score. Yeah. Plus equal die dot face up value. And that'll update our score. Whenever we trigger this, it's going to take each individual die, add it to our score, and that will get us the total of that round. And so, the only thing we could do, and this is something that could be beneficial, is there a possibility we might want to display the score in our system for that round? how much they got that round.
Mhm.
So that would be the one thing that I'm going to keep in my mind. That's why I'm going to change it, because I know they're going to want this and I don't want to change it later. We're probably going to want to be able to say your total for this round was this, and then here's your total score, right? We're probably going to want to show tell the player, hey, you got this round. Or again, that's something we get to decide in the user interface. Do we have to tell them the score for that round, or we just show them their current total score? What do you think?
For the round. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, do we want to do it in our interface during this part at the end of the turn? Do we want to be able to show the player just the total score they have? So just the score, or do we want to show them the round score and their new total?
As a player, I want to know the score every time.
Yeah.
Do you want to know your total score or the total you got for that round?
I want to know the total for each round, and then I want to know the total. I want it all.
I want it now.
Greedy. So we probably want to do a total, add it to the score later, and then be able to, we might also want to return that score then. So update score will return the round score while updating the player score. So now update score does two things for us, which is really useful. And now we are going to change our void. First, let's do that. So, int. Just call it total, I think, right?
I call mine round score, but that'll work fine too.
Yeah. Now you can do round score, but yeah, total works for me. We do want to initialize it to 0, so we can use the plus equal symbol. If we don't initialize, we cannot use +0. So do be aware of that. We cannot do the plus equal. We have to give it a 0 value.
It comes in at null, right? And you can't
exactly
add an integer to null.
Exactly. Yep. So you do have to initialize it with a value. Otherwise, the plus equal will yell at us. So do be aware of that. With that, I'm going to change this from score to total. Go down.
Why the plus equal instead of just using the plus? Can we go over that again? That concept?
Does anyone remember what plus equal is equivalent to? So I got rid of the plus. What would I have to do in order to fix this to make it work?
+1.
No, we're not doing that. We're adding.
Total.
Go ahead.
Oh, plus.
Total equals total plus I dot face value.
That's what the plus equal replaces. So the plus equal just says I shouldn't have to type this twice. I'm just going to say plus equal. And so this says take this value and add this to the existing value already here.
Got it.
So don't replace it, but increment this value by this amount.
Got you.
Yeah, it's called syntactical sugar. It just looks nice for the developer. There's no difference in the behavior, but it looks nice for the developer. All right. And so last we're going to do is we're going to do first score plus equal total. And then the last thing we can do is turn score total. Sorry. Why did I do that? Oh yeah, because I know I did that. All right, it's going to yell at us because we're still doing a void. And now that I've written a return statement, I'm like, ooh, I need to return something. And if I want to confirm, I can hover over it and see that I am returning it's telling me that I'm returning an int right there. So I can see what the data type is. And now I know I can change void to int. And I let my code tell me that. So again, do you have to follow that system? No. Can that be useful? Yes. At the same time, though, can it also trap you into not forgetting to return something when you should? It can also do that. So do be aware that whatever fits best for you in your way of thinking, follow that practice. For me, this works for me. I start with void and I let my first return statement tell me what I need to return. So that look good? So now we can update the player score. We can get the player score through the score methods. We don't have to return the total score for the player. So we can access that directly. We return the round score so we can print that nice and neat on the terminal. Let's try
So I have
doing
a
that.
question with that.
Go for it.
How do I know what my score is?
Player.score. Score is public.
Yeah, but that's gonna be 0. How do I know my individual round score? I just got a total score, don't I?
Right here. That's the total for the round. Yeah. Total
Right,
is
but
for that round.
after like 3 rounds with my single score.
That's what you mean. So yeah, so this is going to be run at the end of every round, right? And since it's initialized in the variable at the beginning, at the end of every round, total is zeroed out. It's going to total the 5 dice that you have in your cup, and that's your round score. So it returns the round score that way. Your total score is stored in score, and we can access that directly through the player class. So we don't need to
Okay.
return it.
But-
We only need to return this item because that one's not accessible via a player parameter, player field. That makes sense?
Kind of total, see, I guess this terminology is just a little weird. So we've got a total score of the 5 dice.
Which is your round score, right?
Okay. I was
it not?
thinking, but see, my whole thing was my thing is I'm thinking total as in my overall total score after 3 rounds.
Again, that's why I think it was Mike who said it. He did wait, am I getting names right?
Yeah, like a round total
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
That
So
was
yeah,
Yeah.
he named it round total. So you definitely do that for those who care. No, that's right. That doesn't work in IntelliJ. This button, I think we do refactor, rename. There we go. This is a trick we can do. I can rename it. For anyone who didn't see that, again, when you right click on a variable, there's refactor, rename. I'm doing that to save time in the video. Again, you might not have access to that, so just be aware of what that does. But that's a tool that is actually could be pretty useful. So you can quickly change all instances of a variable. It also works on method names. So if you want to, the class names and on method names. So if you update a method name, it'll update all calls to that method automatically for you. So see here,
Like, how do you do a right click?
factor, rename. Yep. Right click on it, refactor, rename. Very useful tool. So give everybody a second to make sure this is good and working. This is what everybody has in the player class. What we're going to do is do a quick mini test of the player class on main, not in Yahtzee yet. Let's not complicate the player system with the Yahtzee system yet. Let's make sure the player system works on its own standpoint through main. Can we create a player, look at the player's dice, roll the dice, and look at them again? If we know we can roll the dice, we know that the other roll methods will work. We don't need to test actually getting an input and running it through the player because we know if one roll method works, the other roll methods will work as long as we provide the right data.
I love
So-
the ability to do this, by the way, just to break it down into small chunks and test them individually without having to couple them to everything else. That has been so useful.
Yes, and that's something I do a lot. It's like if you code for 5 minutes and then you test and you find a problem, you're only fixing 5 minutes of code. But if you code half of your program in 30 minutes and you have a bug, now you have to go through 30 minutes worth of code to figure out where that bug is, and there's no guarantee it's only one. You could have multiple, and they could be affecting each other. So for me, that's why I like to do these small chunks, and I like to run my code constantly. So I know that what I'm coding is working. So that way, when I move on to my next bit of code, I can work with that code under the assumption my system works. And it makes me just a little more confident in what I'm doing. And that way, if something breaks, I know it's only that little bit of code that I just recently added that is not working in most cases. Or at least then I can start there. Now, yes, if I could, there's always a chance that the other code could be broken because of the new feature, that they didn't work well together, but at least I have a good starting point and I can branch out from there. It's just helped me avoid a lot of annoying debug sessions, constant testing. So back in main, we're going to comment out our Yahtzee system for the moment, and let's create a player. Who's playing? Let's just have fun with the name here.
Right now.
Arnell. All right, let's go for it. Yeah.
Will's got his hand up.
Who? Oh, Will, what you got? And then chat.
I think you might want to be one of the players.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that because that way someone here can play. I want that more. Player. And that means we also got to put the name in here as well. So we're going to do that. Player Will, new player Will. So we should already have some dice initialized. But the main thing to remember is that they don't roll automatically. So if I try to display the dice right now, what's going to happen? Remember, when we initialized our cup, we create the dice, we add them. So we go back to our cup class, we create the dice and add them. We do not roll them initially. And then we check our die class. When we bring the dice in, face-up value is set to nothing. And we don't get a face-up value until we roll it at least once. So any guess what might happen if I try to display immediately?
It'll throw an error.
So, anyone think it'll run? In this case, you know, now that Will gave me the idea, I'm going to put Will's hand down. So where do I do that? Dang it. Lower hand. There it is. So what I want to do here is
more, sorry.
What's that?
Can you ask the question once more?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the question. So using the reaction hand system, so we have the reaction hand, that way we can go quick on this. Who here thinks the code will run? If I do this. Oh, actually, let me type in the code actually before I do that. So it'll be cup dot display cup, and that's an S out there. So who thinks this will run? Not saying it will run successfully, but just say that it won't crash, or that the compiler won't yell at me. So the question here, so that's the question. If you think the program will either crash or display an error message, then leave your hand down. If you think the program will run, raise your hand with the reaction system. So if you look down the bottom, you should see reaction. Simer's clapping. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, no one's raising their hands. We're getting different reactions, but I'm counting that as a raised hand.
Got a few hands up.
There you go. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
So hand up if we think it's gonna run.
Yeah, I think Matt put his hand down.
Yeah, I'm not thinking so. Could
That's
very
what
well
I'm
be
doing.
wrong.
Matt and Mike, I keep getting your two names confused, and I don't know why I do that. Mike, I think, put his hand down. I thought I saw Mike's hand up.
How does everybody put their?
I put my hand up.
So at the bottom on the bar, you should see something called reactions. I think it's called. I think it's a reaction, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. If you click on reaction, there you go. Okay, so we got 8 thinking it'll go. It will not. It will run, right? Yeah, it will run. All right, we're gonna cut it there. There were 8 hands. I don't know who put their hand down. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know we had a yes option. There, now everyone could put something. Now everyone could actually say, and there's a slow down item. Oh, great. That's a slow down reaction. That is awesome. Keith, don't touch that. No. Get in. There's a Freddie just showed me that there is a slow down reaction.
Yes, there is a slowdown. There is a slower and faster.
That's awesome.
Great.
Will it actually just slow you down?
No, it just tells you that someone wants me to. Cool. And I can't put that away. That stays until either it automatically goes away. I think only the hand up stays up, actually, though. Everything else is temporary. It only stays for a little bit. Or no, I wonder, do you have to take that down? Or does it stay up until you do it? I'm curious on that one. You got to do more plays on this. I know the hands up stays until either you put it down or I put it down. So
I think they're all toggle.
yeah. Oh, they're all toggle? All right, cool. I wasn't sure about the others.
I think
I know
the
the
top
hand
3,
was-
which are just like the clapping. The
Put your
smiley
hands up.
face.
We're gonna have to
The
look at
other
the.
ones.
We're gonna have to look at the code behind that.
Yeah, there you go. So
But
I know
the
at
yes,
least 8
no
people
look
say that the
comparable.
code will run. So yeah, I think we're actually like a half almost, because I know there's 9 people here. So almost at half again.
Well,
Whoever has their hands up. Yeah.
That means only 5 are still doing it.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing about ints. Ints will still display 0 when they are null.
Oh.
They do not act like a 0, but the toString method of the integer class will actually display 0 on null and does act like a 0 in certain situations.
So for conditionals, I'd still have to ask for null, but it would print out as 0. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Hands
well,
up
the
win.
code was- the code was run because it didn't give him any error messages or any other squiggly red box, but
Mhm.
it didn't give us what it was expected.
Doesn't guarantee that though in this case. I
Well-
am doing something so out there, since I am doing something fairly far away, it's okay. But yeah,
Celebrate.
But it didn't give us what we were expected.
Exactly.
My thinking was that if we looked at our player class, it had access to the cup and the
Well, the point I was trying to make is that technically right now, because we didn't roll any dice yet, all the face-up values are currently null. We didn't define them. They are not set to 0. They are not set to any number. They get their first value the very first time we roll them. And in our cup class, we didn't roll them.
And that's
So
fine. All you asked was, will it work? And
Yeah.
I didn't
And
see
the trick behind the question was to see whether or not people would think that null would break the program. Will null ints break it?
I got it.
Right. And that was the test there to see if you thought null would break it or not. And in this case, it did not. A null int does not break a display system, or at least a printout.
a print. Yeah, a print.
Yeah.
Print. Yeah, I got you.
Again, this was fun about this. Is there any guarantee that any of you should know for sure 100% what it would do unless you've done it before? No, there's no way for you to know. But at least now you have that. So I'm going to load the hands of those who signed up.
It should be able to give us a display, right?
Yep. Well, that's it. Now, if we roll it, so let's go ahead and roll.
Well, can we just put will.roll.cup.display?
No, because the roll isn't a player. So
Part
I
of the
can't
player,
change
is it?
those.
No?
What?
Oh, no, we don't have that part of the player.
No. Well, not even that. If I do will.roll, roll is void. Void roll doesn't return anything, so I can't
That's
dot
true.
chain the cup display on it because it won't let me. So I can do will dot cup dot roll. I will roll all 5 dice. I will display again. And then we're just going to copy this, do it a second time to make sure that we can re-roll. And as long as these work, we can take the safe logic that if the simple roll works, the other 2 rolls should work as well because they work on the same logic. That. The next thing we're going to do is also test our scoring system now. So that seems like it works. We got random numbers and they got 3 more random numbers. So now let's do this out. Will.cup.update score. Oh, no, that's player. Player does that. Update score. And so that'll give us the roll score. And then we're going to do an S out. Will.score to see his actual game score. And then we'll repeat these twice to make sure that the second round of this line will only give us the total for that round. And this one will give us the total of both rounds. I want to see what's going to happen. We have our expectations of what should work, what should happen. So if it doesn't work, we know we have to debug. And that's the benefit of doing this stuff. By doing these things, we can see, does any of this not work before we start implementing it in the full system so we can fix it now but instead of trying to fix it later. So run. All right, so we total these up. Does anyone do quick math in their head? Because I already did it and I know that's correct. Anyone confirm that that's correct or incorrect? Am I right?
25, right?
What's that?
Can that be 25? Oh, no, it is 21.
No, it's 21.
Yeah. 5 and 5 is
I
10,
added
6
the
and 4 is
6
10,
and
and
5
the 1.
instead of the 6 and the 1.
Yeah, that was my trick. I did the 5 and 5 is 10, 6 and 4 is 10, and 1 is 1. So that's 21. That's how I did the math. So we see 22 twice because their round score and their total score is the same because only 1 round has passed. We then have this one. Can anyone confirm that that's correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yep. 10 there, and the 4, 4, 2, and then 4 there. So we have 14, and then we add 14 to 21, and that gives us 35. So our scoring system seems to work, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I got him. That's cool.
I'll take that back.
I knew as soon as I said it, he was going to do it too. I was expecting that.
The self-contrarian.
Yeah. I gotta go guess myself since you liked what I said. So we know that our player class at least seems to work, right? So you can at least say, yep, player seems to work. So what time are we at? Now what I want to do is give you guys, yep, exactly. It's 8 o'clock. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of code. I'm going to see how much I want to add for you guys, but we're going to do a little bit for you guys for Thursday. You guys are going to have to do a little bit with this thing for Thursday. So I don't know why I still have high-low open. Go away. Like the Yahtzee, not there. Here, I was going to bring this over a little bit actually. And for those of you who maybe are missing something in player, I'll put player over there so you can actually update it if you need to. So you have that there if you need it. So in here, we're going to create a single player. So player, and we're just going to call them player. We're gonna create a second version. Yeah, we'll create a second version. We'll actually create. Oh, wait, we need to do something else. Sorry, not a second version of this. That's not what I meant. We do need something else now, though, don't we? Because in order for we need to create the player, but in order to create the player, what do we need?
Name.
And so, what does that tell us we need now? Now we need unique data for each game of Yahtzee. What do we need? Someone other than
It's the cup.
what's that? Keep.
Oh no, we have the cup.
Yep. Yeah.
Instructor.
Mike, don't say it. Oh, did I get that wrong again? Dang it. The person who said it last time. Mike, yeah, Mike, you said it. I did get the name right. Yes. No, you're Matt. Dang it. Nope.
I don't even know who you're talking about anymore.
Matt. Matt said it.
I'm Mike.
Matt popped
I
up.
think it was
Ah,
John
shoot.
that said it.
I thought Matt, you said it last time with the player class.
I don't remember 5 minutes ago.
I don't remember. But yeah, if you said the item from the player class, don't say it again. So since we need unique data for every run of Yahtzee now we need a unique name for player for every run of Yahtzee. What do we need now?
A name.
We do need a name for the player, but that means what does Yahtzee need in order to get the name?
A getter.
Not a getter. In order to start the game of Yahtzee, we need something. We need to bring the game of Yahtzee into existence. So our game of Yahtzee needs a player, which needs a name. What do we need?
Constructor.
A scanner.
Yeah, Elaine got it. Constructor, right? We can get the name. We now need a Yahtzee constructor, and that can be, we can also count that as our setup method. So when we thought about it, we can use the constructor as our setup method in the Yahtzee game. The constructor can even actually go ahead and do scanner commands, just so you know. So do this, and now that we know that, and actually I'll do that in a second. So public. Let's see. And I'm not even doing something. I'm not going to save scanner actually because that was something different. So there's two versions of this I could do. But no matter what, we definitely need a constructor. Ooh, no, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, we need a constructor, but the default behavior of just starting the project won't work. We technically don't need to accept the name as a parameter though, do we? Because we can get it. So we can get it another way, can't we? How are we currently getting the name, or how would we get the name usually?
From the player.
From the person playing, right? Not from the class, but how would we get the name if someone was playing our program?
We'd ask them for it.
Yeah, and how do we ask the user for their name? What do we use?
It's some kind of, I don't know what it's called. You ask in the terminal, what's your name?
Yep. And do they remember what system we do for that?
Scanner.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. Yeah, we can use the scanner to ask the player their name. So we can create a scanner in our constructor. Our constructor can do scanners. You can do the terminal. So that's now, should we initialize a scanner or can we do something with this? Can I reuse this somehow?
What did you get? Selections?
Not selections. We don't want to do the method, but what can we do? Can I reuse this scanner somehow?
Can you put it outside the scope of get selections?
I could make it a field, couldn't I?
You could.
Yeah. So this one is the one time I'm going to do this to you guys. And I don't know why I didn't do these and why no one called me out, by the way. Call me out on this stuff, people.
Oh, whoops.
The default's public anyway, so.
We already know that that's apparently kryptonited public, though. It's a weakened public.
For all of our fields to be private. And
We're going to do that later, I said, Titus. So for now, we're doing public because we haven't talked about access modifiers. But yes, as soon as we finish the Liar's Dice game, we're going to be switching to do everything starting as private. I need to turn on my lights because I'm getting dark. It's getting dark in here. Anyway, for this one, this is the first time I'm going to do this just because this one, I would feel horrible not making this the way it is because it only should be used by Yahtzee. This is the first time we are actually going to go with private.
Ooh.
So we are going to do private for this one because it just feels wrong doing a public scanner. It's not necessary. So this one we are definitely making private. Do note that I can still access the scanner in here in the class, but if I was trying to do Yahtzee here, if I would try to do game, sorry. Scanner, that doesn't pop up. See how that doesn't pop up? The cup popped up. So I can do cup, my cup, there it is. I can access my cup because it's public, but because scanner's private, I can't access the scanner here because really main should have its own scanner. So we are gonna do this though. So this is the one time I'm gonna tell you guys, go with public for this one because there's no reason to have a public scanner at all.
Already telling us to go private because there's no reason to have a public scanner, right?
Yeah. So
Why is it saying that it can be final instead?
we could make a final too, but that just means it can't be modified. So this one definitely could be final, but it doesn't need to be necessarily, but that just means we can't reassign the variable. So we could do that.
Awesome. Okay, so then shut up, IntelliJ.
No, I think they said that. That's fine. You're good. Final is valid here. Because once we set the scanner, we're not going to be changing it anyway. So it's kind of not. It's obvious final. So yeah, it's definitely something you could put in. So you know what? Screw it. You put in final. Because yeah, once you create the scanner, you're never going to modify it. So might as well put the final, just in case you somehow accidentally try to modify it. It'll yell at you. So if you somehow accidentally try to change it, it'll say, "Hey, you can't change this. It's final." So let's do an S out and ask them for the name because it's a single player. We probably would change this to have a method to get multiple player names later on, but for the moment, this is fine.
So are we ditching the setup method for Yahtzee?
That's for the moment. Yeah, we can say that our constructor is our setup method for the moment. But if you do like having a setup method, that is fine. I just figure that by doing this, we don't have to do setup, then play, right? We're avoiding that need to run two separate methods. Constructor runs the setup and then play actually plays the game. And that way our main stays as only two lines in that case. Otherwise I'd have to do this, then I'd have to do game.setup, then game.play. Unless I want to put unless I want to put setup as a call in play, which and that's stuff that's kind of like whatever feels right. If you like that way of doing it, that's one of those things that you're not really going to see any benefit in performance. So that's fine.
So somebody like if I actually have the setup method and I just put it inside of the Yahtzee constructor, someone looking at my code isn't just going to be like, why is he doing that?
Nope. That actually can be really nice too, because then it can show it. It's a good way to say that, yeah, during construction, you want to, during construction, you want to run the setup method. And so then they're like, oh, they're setting up. So that could be considered clean code too. So it's not a bad option. And probably something we might do once our configuration is a little more complex. So what is your name? Is there any reason for us to need to parse anything or edit anything, or are we going to get back the name? So we can probably just assign it to the player's name, right? And the benefit for us is our name is public, so we can just create a new name. And what's going to be really interesting here, maybe don't do that right away. Let's do let's spell it out first. Let's go ahead and do string. Equals next line.
There you go.
We could do spaces. We could do next line. That's fine. I heard what I hear. Okay. Thought I heard something. Sorry.
Joel checked out for a second.
Okay. Thank you. And then we can we can create our player. So now we can do come on, there we go. Player dot, player equals, sorry, new. So we haven't done the new command yet. Player. Now we can give it name. Player equals new player name. Good. So because of this, though, what I was saying we could do is we could just throw this inside here and just do the scanner next line inside. Oh, does not allow me to do that? Oh, no, because this is yelling at me. Never mind. because scatter next line returns a string, it's valid. So it'll run this first, get the item, and then just send that automatically through. I will say one thing we might want to do is actually one last thing. And so you might want to put this back in name is because this might get a little dizzying. Wrap that in parentheses and then do a, why did it not give me the other parentheses? There you go. Do a dot trim. That makes sense? So we might want to do that just in case they hit an extra space bar or something at the end of their name. We don't have to worry about all that extra empty space. Is that important? No, but it's nice to keep it clean. A lot of times whenever you're getting strings from external users, it's a good just rule of habit or just a great thing to do just to trim whatever you get from external sources. Because you never know that if someone just copied it bad or typed it wrong or just accidentally hit a space bar, they'll get that. And one thing that I've learned, for example, like this is something that I want to teach you guys, especially because if you ever start building a website and someone uses your website on Android and they use the autofill, so you know you're typing something and you actually select the predictive text on Android, Android automatically on every single time will add an extra space at the end. And so that is something I actually ran into some bugs on during some of my programs and some of the websites I made and some of the mobile apps I made, that if I wasn't trimming, Android users would have extra spaces in their usernames or in their password in their fields. So just something to be aware of. So it's a good practice that whenever you're getting an input from an external source or from a user, just throw that dot trim on. It's just going to save you a lot of annoyances. Like I said, in our system, is that really needed right now? No, I'm just trying to give you guys a nice rule of thumb. Sound good? Makes sense? Cool. No longer need that. But if you want to, you can always keep that name variable if it's more readability. If there's better readability, that's fine. This to me seems fine enough to me. All right. So, challenge for Thursday. We want to convert our play method to run the turn. Well, actually, let's update the turn method. That's what I want to do. I want to update turn. So turn should control the player, right? So how do I need? Oh, how should I update turn? Because when we are, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to disable our MyCup. We're no longer using MyCup anymore. So now we need to make sure that all cup references refer to a player's cup, right?
Okay.
So let's start with the turn method first. We want the turn to reference the player's cup. Anyone want to give me the update? How do I want to change this?
Ooh, player.
Yeah, just think about the statement I said. I want the turn method now to access the player's cup.
Yeah, so player.cup.
Yeah,
Wait.
the most direct way, right?
Yeah.
Player.cup, right? That will give me the individual's cup. So I can roll it. We do the same thing here.
Couldn't we do
cup.
Refactor.
Refactor. Thank you, Sergio.
Could do that.
Oh man, I whispered that. I'm surprised you can't. You heard it.
That's what I was thinking about out loud.
It's no longer the communal cup. Thank God.
You're right. That's definitely something we can do. We do the player.cup and do refactor. And so now we do the same thing to get selections. Right? Do refactor, rename. We'll switch it to, I didn't do input. That's not what I wanted. Don't do that. So player dot cup. So we'll say this is definitely the most direct way to fix it. Does anyone see any potential issues moving forward on this?
We're only using the one player that we have in the Yahtzee game. So this only works for just one player right now.
Yeah. So later on, if we do end up creating more than one player, this won't work, will it? So this can't handle different players. It's taking a very static player. So something to be aware of. So for now, this is going to function. So this will at least let us do what we need to do. So this will allow us to handle a single player, and we can always tackle that later. So for the challenge for Thursday, update the play method here to run and potentially even update turn. So you need to update two things. You'll need to update turn to handle a score. And this is a challenge to see if you guys can come up with it. If you don't, fine, we'll be doing this on Thursday. So not the biggest issue. We'll see if you guys can figure it out. This is going to be because we have 2 days. So we have tomorrow and then Thursday. So update the turn method to also trigger the score system. We want to get that score and update the score. So we want to update the score at the end of every turn, and then update the play system to run that turn 5 times and then display their final score. That sound good? I'm gonna write the comments here.
Can you repeat again? Oh,
Yep, I'm gonna write the comments on here so that way, when if you guys pull it or view it on GitHub,
Yeah,
you'll see it.
commenting would be good.
Yep, I was gonna do that. So this is a really useful item to do. Ready? I don't know if anyone's ever done this before, but to do it, look how it specializes it. It actually marks it. Yeah, and it syntaxes it. And down here, to do, it keeps track of your to-dos. So you can find them. I'll do that again once I finish this out. So to do, say, how do I want to word this?
Oh, how cool is that?
Update. Turn.
Oh, I love this.
I like the lime color, you know.
I like
Oh,
this.
my side project's going to be full of these.
That's a good thing, though. It can look nice for the people looking at it, knowing that you have plans to improve on it, and that way you never forget what you want to do. To use or to update, I can do, yeah, update score. Return to update score, and never mind, we'll do update or use score. Shit, we'll have a fun term here. We'll use a term of art. I don't like update turn to update score. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little redundancy there.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So refactor turn to update score. So refactor is another way of saying update a method. So by refactoring a method, you're updating a method or changing it. So doesn't necessarily mean you have to make it better. And so now what you look at, if you look at the to-do system here, it shows the line that it's on, the file that it's in, it says exactly what you want to do. This is a very common thing to do in code. So do that one, and then over here under play, I'll have another to do for you guys. To do factor again. The factor. This run 5 turns, right? Yeah, 5 turns. Then display. Update score. Oh, forgot one thing. And display. Display. Yeah, total score. Yeah. Yeah, that should work. If you want us to do round score, and then I'll do a star for optional. And the star just says it's optional. You don't have to show the total score on each round. You can just show the round score, and then at the end show their total score. So they're kind of, their total is kind of a surprise if you want to do it. So you don't necessarily have to show the score at the end of each round, what their current score is, to kind of keep it kind of like unsure if they actually got enough, unless they're doing the math themselves. And you'll see a lot of games actually tend to do that. They'll just tell you what you got for that round, not actually keep you up to date with your round and current total score. So at the end of the game, it's a little like, I think I'm winning, but you might be a little off and your math might have been off, so you don't necessarily know. So you keep a little suspension in there. So that's why I'm putting this as optional. You can add it as a way of testing, but really just there are games that tend to do that because it keeps that and the anxiousness there, because we're not always confident in our ability to add up our scores each round, because we could forget in between rounds, so and just do bad math. So some games won't show the total score each round, but you can do that if you want. The main focus course is just to each turn you want to now update the score and display the round score, and then run the game 5 returns and then display their final score on the console. Sound good?
Da momento.
I'm not moving. Oh, sorry, you're not talking to me. I thought you were talking to me.
Sorry.
No worries.
No. I think it's my. Sorry, give me a second.
You're fine. They're finishing up, so I'm gonna push this to get now for everyone. So
that poll thing worked beautifully, by the way.
The poll. Good.
Yeah. I just updated it automatically and everything, and did his thing. I was like, this is cool. This is the new way to do.
Good. We did a bunch of things here today. Dang it.
I was gonna say, what do you even comment on that? It's like
that's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think how do I want to word it where it's descriptive enough, but yet not over wordy. Yahtzee.
I thought it was the only one thing I was like, what comment do you put when you added like 3 classes, but the game is not finished yet?
You're just you're typing out what you did do. So I'm gonna put Yahtzee and player classes plus score system. But no, Yahtzee and player class should be enough. That's one of the things I always have to wonder, do I specify that I added the scoring system or not? But Yahtzee and player classes added is definitely it's definitely the smallest I can do. So the main thing is just try to summarize what you did and try to be as descriptive while also being summarized without being too descriptive. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. Classes. Yeah, I don't think I need to put it out that I added the scoring system. It's kind of given now. So yeah, Yahtzee and player classes added. Commit, and then final item, get.
I thought you needed double quotes for that comment. No.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
In the bash, they don't really see a difference. So you can do single quotes over quotes, just to be in quotes that the spaces are treated as spaces and not separate arguments. Yep.
Okay.
What was doing? Yeah, push.
Good push.
All right, that code's there, so you can refer to that in order to see what you need to do. You can pull it down if you need to start from this, and then I'll try to get the code up tonight so you can also rewatch if anyone needs to see anything else. Any questions? It seems to be coming together, right?
We're just displaying the score, total score after each round, and then tally them up after the 5 rounds.
Well, remember the update score method we have does total all the scores together for you. So at the end, you should just be displaying it. You shouldn't have to do any calculations.
No, it just displays it. So I'm displaying after each turn.
Yeah, you're displaying the round score, and then at the end of the game, you display the player's total score.
Total score. All right.
Yep.
And what's the other one? Total score after all 5 rounds. Total
score at the all 5 rounds here. This says if you want to at the end of your turn, you can also display their ongoing total.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's where. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
this is optional.
That's what I was pointing, meaning up there. Do I display each total round score up here and the?
I'm not going to write that because I have to repush again. So yeah, that just means like if you want to, you can add you can also display their current total score if you want, but you don't have to. That's an optional. And I did explain how some games don't do that because they want to keep that suspense going that you might not win with that. Because if you constantly show all players' current score, you know at the end of each round who's currently winning definitely. By not showing, you're relying on each player to have to keep track of everyone's score, and so you know people aren't going to be accurate on that unless you're Mr. Robot. And in that case, people at the end are like, I think I may have won, but I know this person was close. So, yeah. That should be good. Any other questions? Also, I just want to say, I'm happy to have you back, by the way, Elaine. I didn't say it yesterday because we were so focused on the code, and I knew we were going to code a lot. So happy to have you back.
Thank you.
was kind of weird not having you for a week. I was like missing you, so good to have you back. You seem to be starting to understand some of the Java stuff, so I'm excited.
I don't know if I'm excited yet, but I'm sticking to
You
it.
need to say constructor, so that's good.
I don't really know what a constructor is, though.
You knew we needed it. So.
Clear, but every time when I walk away and look at it later, I'll be like, "What's the constructor here?" I don't know.
All good. Hey, at least I've got to give you props when you got it right. So you're catching things, and that's great. So.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yep. Always take those positives when they happen, and build from that. Because if I had asked you 2 years ago what a constructor was, or a year ago,
I
or
was
6
screaming
months
from the
ago.
room.
Yep. All right. So, any other questions before we cut it? All right. I will see everybody on Thursday. I will post this in the classroom so that way you have a place to post to submit your work. And yeah, this will go up on YouTube as quickly as it can. And I'll do what I did yesterday, just letting you guys know that it's processing on the playlist, so you'll know that it's there. Sound good?
Sounds
Right.
great.
All right, everybody. See you all on Thursday. Yeah.
All right.
Night, gang.
Good night, everyone.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Adios.
See you.
Thanks, Cliff.
No worries, Colin. I got you.
Yeah.
See if the others actually drop or not.
This,
they
this
actually
is
leave.
so funny 'cause this is like over winter break. I was working on stuff non-Java related because I think this was like Liar's Dice. You were like, oh, like everyone do Liar's Dice, and then I started working on some stuff with JavaScript, like Node, just because I was curious about it, and then I stopped using Git because then I switched over to do the Salesforce, and then when I started to use it again, I hit push and like it did all this weird stuff on my IntelliJ, and I'm kind of lost with it. But let me.
Ooh, 2 seconds before you actually say any more, because I just remembered to start recording. 2 seconds. I will probably I'll trim this down, but have me. I want to trim less. So